Get started with a new course on Canvas, you want to start by going over to Courses and then go to All Courses. Once this loads, if you go up here, you can click Start a New Course, and this will allow you to start a new Canvas site for your course. So from here, you'll need to enter your name and your username and whatever the course is called. So I'll call this my practice site. I'll give it a shorter name. I'll just call it practice. For your content license, I just say private. And then for your school, enter that and then create your course. Once you have created your course, you can go to your practice site. So the first thing you'll notice over here is that your course is unpublished, which means that anyone that's in your course still can't see it on Canvas. Once you have your whole Canvas site set up, you would want to click Publish, and that would make it so that anybody in your course is able to see what you're posting, whether that's in discussions or assignments or your modules or whatever it is. Right underneath that, you'll see that you can choose your home page. So if you want, you could say you use your modules a lot and you want that to be your home page, you could do that. You could set it as the syllabus, the assignments, there's a couple different things, and then you would just click Save and you'll have a new home page. From the right-hand side, you can also go ahead and send a new announcement right away. Or if you come over here to announcements, you'll see it's kind of that light gray. That's because there are no announcements yet. If you ever want to add an announcement, you just click Announcement. And let's say I wanted to introduce everyone to the course, so I could say, welcome. And then underneath, I could say, this is where you will receive important announcements. The nice thing about announcements is that you can add files to them. You can insert content, whether that's an image or a file, or you can actually link it to other pages on your Canvas site. And also you can delay when it posts. So if you click this, you can set the specific time and day that you want it to post at. And if you make it so that people can respond, you can set it so they have to respond before they can see what everyone else has responded. And you can let people like the post. Once you have written your announcement, you can click Save. And your announcement will be posted. Go over to assignments. This is where you can post assignments. You can also create groups. So over here, you click this plus. You could name it. You set when it's due. You can even set how many points it's worth because that will show up on Canvas as well. And then once you're done, you would just click Save and Publish, or you can just save it. So let's say I was making, I wanted everyone to introduce themselves in the discussion. I could say introduction post. And I want that to be due 2 days from now. And let's say it's worth 10 points. Now I can save and publish. If you ever have something under assignments, and this also goes for things like under modules, if you ever have something that is published and you don't want people to see it, you go over to where this green cloud is, you can click and it'll be unpublished. So anytime you see that it looks like this, it means that nobody else can see the content that you have. Once you click it and you see this green cloud now covered with a check, it's been published. If you ever have an assignment that you need to delete, you can click this here, just press delete, accept, and your assignment will be gone. Now you can also publish an assignment by going up to this blue button and clicking assignment, and this allows you to create one that's a little bit more in depth. So say I have something here, I could call this homework 1, and then you can write some kind of description here. So I could say find the document for homework 1 under the Files tab. Obviously, you could be a little bit more in depth there, but for the sake of this, I'm just going to keep it short. Again, you can set how many points it's worth. So let's say homework 1 would be worth 20 points. assignment group, if you have set groups up, you can assign it to that specific group. You can display the grade as whatever you'd like. You can choose how they can submit it. So if it is something that they just need to write something, you click text entry. If they are finding a URL, if it's something like any type of media recording, or they can upload files. And here you could also set, so say it was just something they were turning in on paper, you would select on paper, and then you would actually go into Canvas and put in their score. If it's a group assignment, you can click here, and then it will do these groups for you. You can allow peer reviews. You can choose who it's assigned to, and again, the due date, and you can actually set when it is due until. So then I can click save. Oh, and check this. And Canvas will create that assignment. Now, since I did not click save and publish, no one can actually see this assignment. But again, if I want to publish it, I can just go up here to publish, and it's done. That's how assignments work. Under discussions, there are a couple different types that you can create. You can have pinned discussions. So say you have a discussion that you want available for the entire semester or however long, you can pin it up top. You have your regular discussions and then discussions here that people aren't allowed to comment on. Anytime you need to create a new discussion, you just go up here, click add discussion. And just like with assignments, you can give it a title, give it some kind of description, and then it gives you these options here. So allow people to reply. You can set it again. This is really useful. This next option, users must post before seeing replies. This is really useful if, say, you have a homework assignment where people need to do a reading and then post a response. You can actually hide what other people are responding with, so that way you can't, like a student couldn't just read those responses without actually having done the readings. And then again, you can say if it's graded, if people can like it, whatnot, and set the due dates. And when you're done, you would just click save and publish, or if you want to get rid of it, cancel. We'll click save. And that is how discussions work. Under grades, whoever you have added as people in your course, their names would show up here, and then you can set assignments and put them in here. If we go back to our practice site, next let's look at files. Here, if you ever need to set up folders, you can click here and then say, so if this were maybe an elementary classroom and you had, obviously you're teaching your 4 core subjects of math, English language arts, science, and history, you might have a folder for each of those, and then within those folders you can add files, or if you ever just want to do a straight upload, click upload and it'll allow you to pick files from your computer to upload. Under the syllabus, any of the assignments you have assigned will show up here, and if they are dated, it will show up chronologically. Something else you can add are quizzes over here on the left-hand side. Click quiz. And then just like everything else, you would give it a title, you would give it instructions, the basics. So if it's a timed quiz, you can set your time limit. You can choose whether or not they can take the quiz more than once. Different settings in here. Once you do the settings, you would go up to questions, and then you can actually add in the questions for the quiz. Once you're finished, again, your options are cancel, save and publish, or save. Last thing I'll talk about are modules. And to do this, you start by creating one. So let's say I named our first module would be Unit 1. And I've now added my module. Now underneath this, I can add a whole bunch of stuff. If I click plus, I can add assignments, quizzes, files, content page, discussion, text header, URLs, and tools. So like I created that assignment earlier, homework 1. And then you can choose whether or not you want it to be indented, and you can choose, it has 3 different levels. I would indent it once. And then after I chose add assignment, I need to choose which assignment to add, which is homework 1. That's the only assignment I have so far. And that will show up, and it's actually linked to that assignment we created earlier. So anything that I wanted under Unit 1, I could put under here. Again, I need to make sure that it's published. And you can always choose, say you only want your students to be able to see Unit 1 stuff while you're doing Unit 1, and keep Unit 1 published, while say you had already made your Unit 2 and Unit 3 and so on. Had you made those modules earlier, you could always just leave them unpublished and then publish them once you get there. So those are some of the main features of Canvas. Canvas really does offer a whole bunch of stuff that I didn't even go over. There's everything down here. There's so many different options within each of the things on the left-hand side, whether it's announcements, assignments, so on and so forth. So definitely take the time to explore it, but those are the main parts of Canvas.